crates in the car.
Listen to this bitch. Crates in the car. Oh, dumb.
I'd love to blow you guys right here.
Hi, this is the Professional Amateur coming to you with another review. This week, I checked out Equalizer 2000, and this 1987 film was directed by Sergio Santiago and stars Richard Norton, Corinne Wall, and Robert Patrick, among others, of course. So what is the story of Equalizer 2000? Well, with this one, it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where first everything was nuclear winter and then everything got scorched by the sun afterwards, so it's all kind of deserts now. And it kind of just follows this one guy as he travels through, the post-apocalyptic world. It has different kind of factions involved. The main faction is called the Ownership, and they're kind of the biggest gang or army, so they go around kind of just bully the other colonies and stuff like that. And of course, there's a little rebel force that wants to fight against them. There's mountain people, and other little villages. And so he comes to this one village and, kind of befriends this lady and joins up with the village. And he discovers that the village has this secret weapon. It's like this gun that has like 5 guns attached to it and shoots rockets sometimes. And so he helps, defend their little village from the Ownership. And of course, the Ownership doesn't like that. So, things kind of happen and they all kind of decide to team up against the Ownership to try to, level the playing field. Will they, though? Well, for that, you gotta watch the movie and find out. All right, so let's discuss this film. Well, with this one, it is, of course, something that I was, interested in, being a post-apocalyptic world. I just kind of enjoy that genre. And with this one, it has, an interesting enough world where you can get into it. Like, it kind of goes along a little bit of a Mad Max type of situation where you're, riding in these cars in the deserts. I did find out, though, it was like filmed in the Philippines, so it's all just kind of Philippine dunes and stuff like that. And the world, is interesting enough, especially with kind of the Ownership and then, how things kind of relate to the Ownership and all these different kind of aspects of it that go into it to make, for a fulfilling world, I thought. And that's certainly what I was there for. There are going to be, things that don't work in the world, but for the most part, it's just kind of a stereotypical post-apocalyptic world from the 80s. And with that being said, there's a decent amount of action in this film. There is quite a few kind of gun battles, especially with the different kind of factions and them lining up in this, Filipino quarry or wherever it is, and just to, fire back and forth. And they're always firing like straight across the ground too, so it's all these little puffs of smoke all over the ground. And there's even explosions too. They fire mortars and RPGs and stuff like that, so there's quite a few explosions. And then with the Equalizer gun, like that's kind of the main attraction, I guess. It's a fun gun, I would say. It has like 5 different guns attached to it, and it fires missiles and who knows what else. And they have this little ammo box that I guess they get ammo from. And so the gun is super cool as well. Very powerful, it seems, though, it may be in the wrong hands. It could be used for evil. And so with this film, I think there's enough action that if you do enjoy 80s films, this will certainly, satisfy you. Also, I gotta say, I really like Corinne Wall, if that's how you pronounce her name in this one. She's kind of like the badass woman character of this one. Of course, is going for the sex appeal of the movie, and she certainly covers that, I would say. And then just kind of how she portrays the character, I really enjoyed. And her acting's, not half bad either. I tried looking her up to see if there was any other, movies I was interested in that she was in, but not really successful, I would say. And she, it's just fun to watch her on screen. And with the other actors, they do a good job too. Like, everyone's doing a decent job with the acting. So yeah, overall, the cast make the characters seem pretty cool. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this movie. Well, if you've seen lots of other post-apocalyptic stuff from the 80s, this is certainly a very generic one for you. There's really kind of nothing new. And even then, with like the gimmick of, this gun with 5 guns on it isn't particularly that interesting. Even with inside the movie, it's a huge kind of MacGuffin where it's not that important as it seems, as, what can one gun do when you're facing down an army, right? And so it just, I don't know, made it kind of more generic. I would say even then, like, there's no real gimmick besides that gun. And like I said, it's not particularly something that is world changing in this one. And so there's that. There's also like no sleaze in this one. You don't see any nudity. There's no swearing. There's no blood really even. People just kind of fall down if they get shot. And so, yeah, it's just kind of a generic film that way. And I think that's kind of the biggest problem with this one. Like, there's so many other movies out there. I know this is Equalizer 2000, but like Cherry 2000 is a movie that I think has more going for it. America 3000, I think, really has a lot going for it. After all, someone becomes the astronaut president of the United States in that movie, where in this movie, there's not really anything kind of cool to that extreme. Certainly the gun, but, you know, besides the gun, and the gun doesn't have any personality, right? It can't fire by itself after all. And so, yeah, there's just, I think, kind of this genericism that goes along with this movie. Also, with this one, you can't think about it too much. After all, the ownership, the bad guys, are going around collecting gasoline and oil and water and bullets, but the enemies never seem to have, you know, a limited supply of that. Everyone just seems to have enough bullets to fire every bullet they want, or enough gas to drive their cars as far as they want. And so it never kind of seems like a real issue. But, you know, that's just one of those things where you can kind of overlook it. After all, they have to have, you know, these cars in order to join the fight and make it actually interesting. And so what their kind of motivations are quite murky that way. Even with the ownership, like their whole kind of structure of their organization doesn't quite work. And I don't know, there's just a lot of things where it's just like, don't question it and you'll be fine. As for a recommendation, well, certainly if you're a fan of this genre, I would say, you know, press play on it. After all, you've probably seen all the other ones, you know, America 3000, Cherry 2000, and I would probably say, yeah, go for it. Press play on this one. It's kind of a generic, but I would say fun watch nonetheless. If you aren't a fan of this one, it's probably not going to be the first post-apocalyptic thing I'm going to recommend. Certainly America 3000 is probably going to be on top of that list, but, you know, Equalizer 2000, I would say, you know, certainly watch it if you've seen the other movies. This one's also on Tubi, so you can go over there and press play if you choose to. As for a rating, well, I'm going to give it the okay score of 4. After all, it was pretty okay for this genre. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.